If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching from. Let's continue. Please don't cry, my love. Mary Smith never imagined that night would change her life forever. At 43, with 15 years of experience as a housekeeper, she knew every corner of that mansion on the Upper East Side, one of New York City's most affluent neighborhoods, better than she knew her own rented apartment in the Bronx. Her hands, marked by time and tireless work, moved with automatic precision as she wiped down the imported marble dining table for the last time. "Almost done, Mary," she whispered to herself, as she had for years, a habit that kept her grounded in reality amidst the oppressive silence of that enormous house. She folded the microfiber cloth neatly, organized her cleaning cart, and started walking toward the kitchen. The Anderson mansion was strangely quiet that Thursday night. No sound of footsteps upstairs, no distant conversation, not even the familiar clatter of Constance, the cook, washing the last pots of the day. Only the ticking of the old grandfather clock in the main hallway. That's when she heard it. A sound, so soft that for a moment she thought it was just her imagination. A faint, trembling cry, almost muffled. Mary stopped, tilted her head, and strained her ears. Silence again. "You're just too tired, Mary," she muttered to herself, shaking her head and trying to move on, but she couldn't take more than 3 steps. The sound returned, this time clearer, more desperate. It was the cry of a baby. Her heart hammered violently in her chest. The cry repeated, louder, more urgent, coming from the back of the house where the service quarters and utility area were located. Mary abandoned the cart right where it was. Her rubber sandals slapped against the porcelain tile floor as she ran toward the sound. She went down the back corridor, pushed open the heavy door leading to the service yard, and stepped out into the cold May night. The chilly air hit her face. A row of large trash cans was lined up against the wall, waiting for the next morning's collection. The crying was coming from there. Her stomach clenched. "No, no, please," she whispered, approaching slowly as if waking from a nightmare and fearing what she would find at the end of it. With trembling fingers, she pushed aside one of the trash bags, and then her world stopped. Huddled between 2 black garbage bags, shivering and soaked in tears, was a baby girl. She couldn't have been more than a year old. Her diaper was soiled, her pink onesie was stained, her cheeks were red and raw from crying, her tiny lips were cracked from dehydration. "Oh my God," Mary gasped, falling to her knees. Without a second thought, she scooped the child into her arms and pulled her against her chest. The baby clung to her immediately, her desperate little fingers gripping Mary's blouse as if she had finally found safety. "Hush, my love, hush," Mary whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You're okay now. I'm here. I'm here with you." The child's sobs subsided to ragged whimpers. Mary gave her a quick once-over. No visible injuries, but the exhaustion and neglect were evident in her fragile little body. "Who did this to you? Who left you here, my sweet girl?" Mary asked softly, knowing the baby couldn't answer. Hurried footsteps echoed from inside the house. "Mary, my God, where did you find her?" Mary looked up to see Veronica Anderson, the lady of the house, running toward her. Perfectly waved blonde hair, a designer white dress, high heels clicking against the concrete. She ran with an expression of exaggerated panic on her face. "She was in the trash," Mary answered breathlessly, crying, abandoned, whoever did this to her. "That's my daughter." "My Sophia," Veronica cried out, reaching with strangely stiff arms, unnatural for a mother whose child was supposedly missing. Mary hesitated. Something wasn't right. Veronica seemed too composed. The intact makeup, the controlled breathing, the pristine dress, as if she had just come from a social luncheon and not from hours of searching for a missing daughter. "How long has she been missing?" Mary asked carefully as she handed the baby over. I don't know. Maybe 2 hours. I was making calls in my room. When I went to check her crib, she was gone. I thought I was going crazy. The baby immediately started crying again in Veronica's arms, louder than before, as if she were terrified. "She's very dehydrated," Mary said, moving closer. "She needs water, a clean diaper." "Yes," Yes, of course, Veronica cut her off, but her tone lacked any real urgency. Before Mary could say anything more, Richard Anderson burst through the door. His dress shirt was rumpled, his tie loosened, his hair disheveled. He looked genuinely terrified. "Mary found her," Veronica cried dramatically. "Someone threw our baby in the trash, Richard. Our Sophia." The colour drained from Richard's face as he took Sophia into his arms. The baby quieted a little, but her eyes remained fixed on Mary, as if she were the only person she trusted. "Mary, thank you." Richard's voice trembled. "If you hadn't been here, I just did what anyone would do," Mary said quietly. "No," Richard insisted. "You saved her." Veronica forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "She has experience," Veronica said lightly, "raised her own children, so it's natural she knows how to handle kids. Honestly, Mary, maybe you can look after Sophia for now, just until things calm down." Something cold slithered up Mary's spine. Veronica handed out compliments like poisoned sweets, sweet on the surface, deadly underneath. But she nodded. Of course, whatever Sophia needs. That night, Richard bought baby clothes, diapers, and formula. Veronica claimed to be exhausted from the trauma and retreated to her master suite. Mary bathed, Sophia in the kitchen sink, the warm water washing away all the filth and fear. The baby relaxed for the first time, her tiny fingers clutching Mary's hand. "You're safe now," Mary whispered. "I promise." Sophia smiled, a small, tired smile. And Mary felt her heart crack open. She hadn't held a baby since losing her own daughter 10 years ago. The pain she had buried so deep resurfaced like a raw wound. As Mary turned off the kitchen light, she saw Veronica standing silently in the doorway watching. Their eyes met. Veronica smiled, but her eyes were cold. Dead, cold. "Good night, Mary," she said softly. Something in her tone told Mary this was only the beginning. A week had passed since the night Mary found baby Sophia, abandoned among the trash cans behind the Anderson mansion. 7 days that had permanently altered Mary's routine, and unbeknownst to her, her entire future. Every morning Mary woke at 5, a half-hour earlier than usual, to prepare Sophia's first bottle. The baby, who used to wake up screaming and drenched in fear, now stirred peacefully at the sound of Mary's steady footsteps. When Mary leaned over the small crib she had, set up in her maid's quarters, Sophia always greeted her with the same gesture. Little arms reaching up, eyes bright with recognition, as if the world only made sense when Mary was near. "Good morning, my love," Mary would whisper, lifting her carefully. "Did you sleep well?" Sophia would babble softly and nestle against her shoulder, the kind of affection that seeped under Mary's ribs, filling spaces she thought had gone dormant forever. After feeding her, Mary would bathe Sophia in the sink, dress her in the clothes Richard had bought, place her in the stroller, and continue with her work. The child remained calm near Mary, quiet, curious, secure. The mansion, however, felt different. Colder, more tense. Veronica moved through the house in elegant, calculated steps, her eyes always watchful. She hardly ever touched Sophia unless someone else was present, and when she did, it was only for show. That morning, Mary entered the kitchen to prepare Sophia's second bottle. She froze. The bottles she had washed, sterilized, and neatly arranged the night before were in the sink, caked with dried formula residue, sticky juice, and greasy food scraps. "What?" she whispered, picking them up one by one. She was certain she'd left them clean. In fact, she remembered double-checking before going to bed. Mary washed them again, but the unease lingered in the back of her mind. Sophia started to fuss in her stroller. Mary rushed to her, picking her up gently. The baby's diaper was soaked, but when she opened it, her breath caught. The diaper had a clean, deliberate slit in it, as if cut with scissors. "This isn't normal," Mary murmured, examining the precise line. She set the torn diaper aside. Instinct told her not to throw it away. "Is everything all right, Mary?" A smooth voice floated into the kitchen. Mary turned. Veronica stood in the doorway, hair perfectly coiffed, makeup flawless at 8 in the morning, a silk robe tied perfectly around her waist. "Yes, Mrs. Anderson," Mary replied, but Sophia's diaper was cut. "Cut?" Veronica approached, feigning concern. "How strange. Maybe it tore when you were changing her." "No, ma'am. The cut is clean, like it was done with scissors." Veronica's eyebrows rose in mock surprise. "Well, accidents happen. Maybe it was defective. You know how those brands are." Mary said nothing. She knew the truth. Richard had bought the most expensive brand in the store. Veronica walked to the fridge, poured herself a green juice and left without a backward glance. Later that afternoon, Veronica hosted a small tea for 3 of her high society friends. Mary recognized them from previous visits. Women dripping in diamonds, designer handbags resting beside them, always eager to trade gossip like currency. Mary placed Sophia in her stroller nearby while she served tea and the vanilla scones Constance had prepared. For a while, all was quiet. Then, suddenly, Sophia began to scream. It wasn't a cry of hunger, not a cry for a dirty diaper. It was a desperate, high-pitched, terrified shriek. "Oh, goodness," one of the women said, wrinkling her nose. "What's wrong with her?" I don't know," Mary stammered, rushing over. She checked Sophia's diaper. Clean. Temperature, normal. Bottle, not hungry. Nothing explained the intense crying. Mary lifted the baby, rocking her gently. "It's okay, my sweet girl. It's okay." But Sophia was inconsolable. Veronica's composure cracked just enough to reveal irritation. "Mary, please," she hissed through her teeth. "We're trying to have a conversation. Take her somewhere else." "I'm trying, ma'am. She's never cried like this." "Well, perhaps you're not doing something." "Right." The remark hit Mary like a slap. 15 years of impeccable work reduced to disrespect in front of guests. Mary carried Sophia to the kitchen. The baby cried for 20 agonizing minutes before finally calming down. When Mary returned to the living room to clear the tea service, she paused in the hallway. Veronica was speaking in a low voice. "I swear she just can't handle the pressure. It's the 3rd time this week Sophia has had a meltdown with her. The poor thing. She doesn't have much experience." One of the guests tittered. "Perhaps hire a professional nanny. Why rely on a maid?" "Richard insists on Mary." Veronica sighed dramatically. "But honestly, she's getting older. I'm afraid she's losing her touch." Mary's heart broke. Constance, who was behind her, whispered, "Ignore her, Mary. That woman has a darkness inside her I've never seen before." Mary swallowed hard, nodding, though her hands were shaking. The next day, the family gathered in the dining room. Mary was feeding Sophia carrot puree, while Richard and Veronica ate grilled salmon. Sophia was giggling as Mary brought the spoon near. "She's eating well," Richard said with a warm smile. "You're doing a great job, Mary." Veronica forced a smile. "Yes, she is." Then, as she reached for her glass of orange juice, Veronica accidentally stumbled. The entire glass tipped over, directly onto Sophia. The baby shrieked as the cold, sticky mess soaked her onesie. "Oh no," Veronica gasped dramatically. "Mary, why weren't you paying attention? Look at her." Mary stared at her, stunned. She had clearly seen Veronica tip the glass on purpose. "Ma'am, you were the one who spilled it. You should have moved Sophia away when you saw me reaching for the glass," Veronica snapped. "Honestly, Mary, this is becoming a problem." Richard frowned. "Veronica, it was just an accident." Veronica pursed her lips, annoyed. But Mary saw the truth in the glint of her eyes. This was no accident. It was a setup. Later that night, Richard called Mary into his study. "Mary, sit down, please." She sat, nerves taut. "Veronica told me what happened today," Richard began, "and the crying yesterday, during the tea. Are you feeling overwhelmed?" "No, sir. I promise Sophia is being well cared for." Richard sighed. "I trust you, Mary. You've worked here 15 years without a problem, but just be more careful, please." She nodded, though her stomach was churning. The seeds of doubt were being planted exactly where Veronica wanted them. The next morning, Mary began her routine as always. Wake at 5, prepare Sophia's bottle, start the laundry, tidy the living room. but an uneasy feeling persisted in her chest, like the air before an earthquake. While changing the sheets on Sophia's bed later that afternoon, something unusual caught her eye. A dirty baby bottle. It was tucked under her pillow, caked in dried formula, smelling sour, clearly used and left for hours. Her stomach plummeted. "No," she whispered, lifting it gingerly, with 2 fingers. "I sterilized every single bottle last night, all of them." Footsteps echoed down the hall. "Richard!" He stopped in the doorway, staring at the bottle. "Mary, what is that?" "I found it under my pillow," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Richard came closer, sniffed it, his expression darkening. "Mary, you never leave bottles like this. Never." "I didn't," she whispered desperately. "I swear I didn't." He raised an eyebrow. "Are you suggesting someone put it there?" Mary froze. How could she accuse Veronica without proof? How could she speak the truth without sounding paranoid? "I don't know what happened," she said softly, "but I did not leave that there." Richard exhaled heavily. "We're all tired. Mistakes happen. Just be more careful." He left. The seed of doubt grew a little deeper, exactly as Veronica intended. Later that afternoon, the garden was peaceful. Sunlight filtered through the jacaranda tree, birds hopped along the stone path, the air fresh and fragrant with lavender. Sophia was giggling as Mary blew bubbles for her, tiny arms reaching out to pop them. It was the happiest Mary had seen her. Then heels clicked sharply against the patio stones. Veronica's voice drifted over. "She seems happy." Mary didn't turn. "She loves being outside." Veronica moved closer, her tone silky but cold underneath. "I worry sometimes that she's getting too attached to you." Mary's breath hitched. "I'm just doing what's best for her, Mom." "Oh, I'm sure you think you are," Veronica said with a light laugh. "But you need to remember your role here. You're the maid. I'm her mother." Mary went rigid. "Of course, Mrs. Anderson." Veronica crouched beside Sophia, though the baby immediately tensed and crawled back into Mary's lap. "She doesn't even want to be near you," Veronica muttered. "She's just shy," Mary said gently. Veronica's eyes sharpened. "Some women get confused," she said, "especially women who've lost a child. They see a vulnerable baby, and they attach themselves too deeply." The words pierced Mary's heart like a needle. "Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about," Veronica whispered. "You lost your daughter 10 years ago, tragic. But to take my daughter to fill your emptiness, that's unacceptable." Mary's voice trembled. "I'm not trying to replace." "Know your place, Mary." Veronica stood, brushing invisible dust from her designer dress. "Sophia is mine. Don't you ever forget it." She walked back to the house. Mary held Sophia tightly, fighting the sting in her eyes. Something was wrong. Very wrong. 2 days later, that morning, the mansion felt taut, as if the very walls sensed the danger building. Sophia had slept poorly through the night, waking in fits of terrified screams. Mary had rocked her in the dark, whispering reassurances, wondering what nightmare the small child was reliving. At noon, Mary brought Sophia to the kitchen for a snack. Veronica was at the counter, chopping vegetables with a large chef's knife. The blade glinted dangerously under the overhead. "Lights?" "You're just in time," Veronica said without looking up. "I wanted to talk about Sophia's routine, her feeding. Everything needs to be more strict. She's following the pediatrician's recommendations." "Oh, please," Veronica said, turning suddenly with the knife still in her hand. "I'm her mother. I don't need a doctor telling me how to feed my own child." Mary took a small step back. Veronica took a step forward. "So what did you mean earlier when you tried to tell Richard you know what's best for her?" I never said." "You act like she's yours," Veronica said, her voice sharp, the knife glinting between them. "Every time I hold her, she cries. Every time you hold her, she relaxes. That's not natural." "She's just familiar with me," Mary whispered. "Right," Veronica sneered. "Because you've inserted yourself into her life." Mary tried to back away, but Veronica suddenly leaned in too close, too fast. She stumbled. The knife sliced her palm. "Ah!" Veronica shrieked, dropping it. Blood welled from her hand. Footsteps thundered. "What happened?" Richard burst into the kitchen, alarmed. Mary pushed me, Veronica sobbed, clutching her bleeding hand. She tried to grab the knife. I don't. No, sis, she was so angry. That's not true, Mary cried. She tripped. I wasn't even near her. Constance, who had run in from the patio, looked startled. I only saw the end of it, the cook said. The knife was already on the floor. See? Veronica screamed. She was right next to me. Mary felt her heart sink. Richard, please. You know I would never hurt her. Richard's face contorted. Pain, confusion, doubt. Mary, you have been very stressed lately. No, I'm telling the truth. But Veronica, tears rolling perfectly down her cheeks, whispered, She needs help, Richard. Look, how attached she is to Sophia. I'm scared. Richard clenched his jaw. Mary, maybe it's best if you take a few days off. No, Mary cried. Sophia needs me. Veronica smiled through her tears. So you admit it? You think she's yours? Richard's jaw tightened. This has gone too far. Mary, I think you should talk to someone. A professional. Mary felt her world crumbling. The trap was working. Veronica was winning. That night, after bathing Sophia and putting her to bed, Mary sat on her bed, her head heavy in her hands. The whole day felt like a nightmare, unfolding in slow motion. A soft knock. Constance slipped in. Mary, something is wrong in this house, she whispered. Veronica is not normal. Mary looked up, eyes puffy. I know. Constance swallowed. And today, I saw something. I didn't want to say in front of Richard, but you were too far from Veronica to have pushed her. Mary's breath hitched. You believe me? Yes. And you need to be careful. Never be alone with her again. But neither woman knew that Veronica was standing just outside the door, listening, smiling, planning her next move. A month had passed since the night Mary found Sophia in the trash. 30 days of sleepless nights, whispered warnings and threats disguised as polite smiles. The Anderson mansion had transformed into a silent battlefield. Every room held secrets, every door concealed tension, every shadow whispered danger. Mary moved through the house with the precision of a soldier in enemy territory. She documented everything, feeding times, diaper changes, medications, Sophia's naps, unusual behaviors, and secretly, the strange accidents that kept happening. She kept the notebook hidden under her mattress because she knew someone was sabotaging her work, someone who wanted to see her gone, and that someone was Veronica. Meanwhile, Sophia was thriving. The once frail baby now toddled around the living room, holding onto furniture, her dark curls bouncing with each wobbly step. She had started forming simple words, Mama, Dada, water, no. But strangely, she only said Mama to one person, Mary. And every time it happened, Veronica's smile tightened a little more. On a warm June afternoon, Veronica announced she was hosting another tea. I want my friends to see how well Sophia is doing, she said. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes were hard. Mary dressed Sophia carefully in a light blue dress Richard had bought, complete with a matching headband and tiny shoes. Sophia looked like a little doll. Cute, clean, perfect. At 3 o'clock, 4 women arrived, their voices echoing through the house like sharp bells. Mary recognized them. Wealthy socialites from Soho and Tribeca, cloaked in perfume and arrogance. Veronica walked into the garden holding Sophia stiffly, as if the baby were an expensive vase she didn't want to drop. Ladies, look at my beautiful daughter, she said proudly. Oh, how precious, how lovely, she looks just like you, Veronica. Mary stood back near the French doors, clearing plates. She watched Veronica hold Sophia like a trophy, smiling for imaginary cameras, pretending to be maternal, pretending everything was perfect. Oh, she's such a calm baby, Veronica boasted. Never cries. At that exact moment, Sophia's eyes turned to Mary. Her little arms reached out. Mama, she cried loudly. The women froze. Mama, did she just say Mama? Everyone turned to Mary, who stood shocked with a tray in her hands. Veronica laughed nervously. Oh, children get confused at this age. Mary spends so much time with her. The attachment is normal. But the baby kept crying, reaching further, her face turning red with distress. "Mama, Mama," she wailed. "No," Veronica said through gritted teeth, holding the baby tighter. "No, darling. Mommy's right here. I'm Mommy." The tighter she squeezed, the louder Sophia cried. Mary took a step forward instinctively. "Mrs. Anderson, she needs—" "Stop!" Veronica snapped, glaring at her. "Don't embarrass me." But Mary saw something the others didn't. Veronica's fingers digging into Sophia's arm, squeezing far too hard. "Mrs. Anderson," Mary said softly, "you're hurting her. Don't you tell me how to hold my own child." But the guests had seen the red marks blooming on Sophia's arms. "Mary," one of them whispered, "maybe you should take her." "No," Veronica pulled Sophia away, turning her back on her friends. Mary watched in horror as Veronica's hand moved sharply. She pinched Sophia, hard. Sophia shrieked. Mary rushed forward. "Mrs. Anderson, please." Veronica spun around, her face dripping with feigned innocence. "What is wrong with you?" she hissed. "Are you accusing me of hurting my daughter?" "I saw you." "Enough!" Veronica screamed loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Before Mary could defend herself, the ladies began to murmur in shock. Veronica cradled Sophia, tears flowing dramatically. "Mary is unstable," she whispered. "She keeps saying the most awful things. I think she's losing her grip." The guests gasped. Mary stood frozen. Every piece of evidence she had meant nothing next to Veronica's performance. Then Richard came outside, alerted by the commotion. "What's going on?" Veronica ran to him, clutching Sophia tightly. "Mary is accusing me of hurting Sophia," she cried in front of everyone. Richard turned to Mary, disappointment in his eyes. "Mary, why would you say that?" "I saw her pinch the baby," Mary said, her voice strained. The guests chimed in. She seemed very emotional. Overwhelmed, maybe. She lunged. "It was shocking, Richard. This has to stop." An hour later, Dr. Morris arrived for a wellness check. He examined Mary in Richard's study, while Veronica comforted her guests in the living room. "Mary," Dr. Morris said gently, "stress can make us misinterpret things." "I'm not stressed," Mary insisted. "I'm telling the truth. Please examine Sophia." "She might have bruises." "Mary, the doctor." "Richard and Veronica said the child is fine." "Examine her," Mary pleaded. "Please." But the doctor left to speak with Richard. Mary knew she was losing. The next morning, Richard's parents arrived unexpectedly from upstate New York. A warm older couple, eager to meet their granddaughter. When Sophia saw them, she lit up, babbling, smiling, reaching out. But when Veronica lifted her, Sophia's happiness vanished. Richard's mother frowned. "She doesn't seem comfortable, dear." "She's just shy," Veronica insisted. Over lunch, the grandparents asked endless questions about Sophia's routine. Veronica stumbled over the answers, forcing Mary to reply, and every precise detail Mary gave made Veronica's smile tighten more. After lunch, Veronica excused herself. "I'm going to put Sophia down for a nap," she said. But Mary's stomach sank. Sophia's room was on the ground floor. Veronica went upstairs. 30 minutes later, Veronica returned. "I can't find her," she screamed suddenly. "Where's Sophia?" The house erupted. Richard's parents panicked. Richard shouted orders. Everyone searched. Mary ran upstairs. She heard a faint cry. She followed it to a storage closet door locked from the outside. "She's in here," Mary yelled. Richard's father forced the door open. Sophia was sitting on the floor crying, her cheeks wet with tears. The grandparents were horrified. "How could she end up in a locked room?" Richard's mother cried. "It must have been Mary," Veronica said coolly. "She forgot she put her in here." "That's not true," Mary cried. Veronica brought her upstairs. But Veronica wasn't finished. She picked up her phone and called Richard. "Richard," she said, her voice trembling with fake fear. "I'm scared. Mary needs to go. She's not safe around Sophia." Richard arrived 2 hours later, furious. "Mary," he said, "you have 24 hours to prove your innocence. Then you're gone." Sophia screamed as he took her, clinging to Mary as if her life depended on it. "Mama, Mama." The sound nearly broke Mary's soul, and that night, as Sophia cried upstairs, Mary heard Veronica's voice through the vents. "Cry. All you want, Sophia. Tomorrow she'll be gone." Mary knew the next 24 hours would decide everything. The night before Mary's deadline felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Every hour she heard Sophia crying, tired, exhausted, terrified cries. And every hour, Veronica's cruel voice echoed through the vents. "Cry louder, Sophia. Tomorrow she's gone forever." Mary sat on her small bed, hands shaking, eyes red from sleeplessness. She had 24 hours to prove the truth, 24 hours to save Sophia from a woman capable of anything. At dawn, Mary slipped out of her room just as Constance entered. "The kitchen." "Mary, I heard everything last night," Constance whispered, her eyes full of worry. "That woman is dangerous. You need proof, real proof." "How?" Mary whispered desperately. "She never hurts Sophia when others can see." But Constance's expression changed. "Mary, yesterday during the tea I saw her pinch the baby." Mary's breath stopped. "You saw it?" Constance nodded firmly. "I didn't say anything yesterday because I was scared. But if you get fired, Sophia is defenseless. I'll tell Richard what I saw." Hope flickered in Mary's chest for the first time in weeks. At 9 a.m., Richard called Dr. Morris back to the house for a full examination of Sophia before he let Mary go. Veronica stood near the dining table holding Sophia, a pale, trembling version of herself. Dark circles under her eyes, a faint whimper instead of a cry. Dr. Morris lifted Sophia gently onto the table. "She's dehydrated," he murmured, "and extremely fatigued." Veronica clasped her hands dramatically. "It's the stress. Yesterday was so overwhelming." The doctor rolled up Sophia's sleeves. He froze. There were faint but clear bruises in the shape of adult fingers. "These aren't from falls," Dr. Morris said quietly. "These are pinch marks." Veronica's smile faltered. "Doctor, babies bruise easily." "Not like this," the doctor said firmly. "And some of these are days old." The color drained from Richard's face. "Mary," he said, turning to her. "Did you do this?" "No," Mary said firmly. "I would never hurt Sophia." Sophia, as if understanding, crawled off the table and grabbed onto Mary's leg. "Mommy, stay, stay." Richard's parents, who had stayed another night out of concern, walked into the room at that exact moment. "Oh, good heavens," Richard's mother whispered. "Look how she clings to Mary." "We need answers," Richard's father said, his voice firm. Dr. Morris knelt beside Sophia. "Sophia," he said gently, "who hurt you?" Sophia pointed with her tiny finger straight at Veronica. A thick silence swept the room. Veronica froze, eyes wide, smile cracking at the edges. "She's confused," Veronica snapped. "She's a baby." But Sophia interrupted her. "Hurts, Sophia. Mommy hurts." She touched the bruises on her arms. "Here." Veronica's face went white. Richard staggered back. "Veronica, tell me she's not telling the truth." Veronica panicked. She doesn't know what she's saying. Mary is manipulating her. But Sophia wasn't done. She pointed to the window toward the trash. "Cans outside. Garbage." "Sophia in garbage," she said in her toddler vocabulary. "Mary, save Sophia." Richard's knees buckled. His parents stared in horror. "Mary never told her she was found in the garbage," Richard whispered. "Only you and I knew that." Veronica's mask shattered completely. "That child ruined everything," she shrieked suddenly. "You think I wanted some stranger's baby dumped on me? You think I was going to let her take my life, my inheritance?" Everyone stared in disbelief. "You put her in the garbage," Richard whispered. "You tried to get rid of her." Veronica realized too late what she had admitted. "No, oh Richard, I can explain." But the front door burst open. Richard's father had already called the police. 2 officers walked in. "Veronica Anderson," one announced. "You're under arrest for child endangerment, abuse, and obstruction." Veronica screamed. "It's a setup, Richard. Do something, do something." But Richard backed away and for the first time looked at Mary with clarity, pain, guilt, and profound gratitude in his eyes. "Mary," he whispered, his voice breaking, "I am so sorry." The officers led Veronica away as she screamed and raved and threw accusations into the air. Sophia watched, clinging tightly to Mary's neck, her small body trembling. Mary rubbed her back gently, whispering soft words. "It's over, my love. You're safe." 3 weeks later, the Anderson mansion felt lighter, almost peaceful. No more tension, no more whispered threats, no more fear in every hallway. Sophia was thriving, laughing again, learning new words, sleeping through the night. On a warm afternoon, Mary sat under the jacaranda tree with Sophia in her lap. The little girl picked up a fallen purple petal and placed it in Mary's hand. "For Mommy," she said softly. Mary kissed her forehead. "Thank you, my sweet girl." Constance brought out lemonade, smiling. "You saved her life, Mary." "Maybe she saved mine too," Mary whispered. From the upstairs window, Richard watched them, his daughter safe, his home finally whole. He came down to the yard, his voice gentle. "Mary, I want you to stay here permanently," he said, "not as an employee, as Sophia's full-time caregiver. Your own room, a real salary, real respect." Mary's eyes filled with water. "It would be an honor, sir." Richard smiled. "You're the only mother she's ever really known." Sophia wrapped her arms around Mary's neck, whispering, "Mommy, home." And in the golden New York sunset, Mary finally felt it. She was home too. But just as Mary thought the worst was over, she didn't know that Sophia's story was only beginning to unfold. Who was Sophia's real biological mother? Why did Veronica, a woman who clearly didn't want the child, keep her in her home? And what dark secrets were still hidden within the walls of that mansion? A week after Veronica's arrest, Richard called Mary into his study. She walked in, holding Sophia on her hip. The baby was playing with Mary's necklace, carefree. "Mary, sit down, please," Richard said. His voice was serious but not threatening. She sat, feeling a familiar tension creep up her spine. "I need to tell you the truth about Sophia," he began. "And you deserve to know, since she loves you more than anyone in this world." Mary held Sophia tighter. "Sir?" Richard sighed deeply. "Sophia is not my biological daughter, and she's not Veronica's." Mary's heart stopped. "Then who?" "She belongs to Veronica's younger sister, a girl named Beatrice." Mary processed this slowly. "Her sister?" Richard nodded. "Beatrice was only 19 when she got pregnant. The baby's father was a boy from the community, someone Veronica's family deemed unsuitable. When Beatrice refused to terminate the pregnancy, the family cast her out. Mary felt nauseous, and Sophia, Beatrice gave birth alone. No money, no support, no family. She was desperate. Then Veronica showed up with a proposal. "Give me the baby and I'll raise her as my own. You'll have money to start over, and the child will have a better life." Mary's eyes widened. Did Beatrice agree? Richard shook his head. Not at first. She loved Sophia. But Veronica manipulated her, threatened her, said she'd call social services. Eventually, Beatrice had no choice. She handed Sophia over. "But why?" Mary whispered. "Why would Veronica want a baby she clearly didn't love?" Richard closed his eyes. "My mother. She wrote a will years ago. It stated that the bulk of the family inheritance would go to the first grandchild. Veronica was desperate for that money, but she couldn't get pregnant, so she took Sophia and pretended the child was hers. Mary felt anger boiling inside her. She used a baby, an innocent child, for money." "Yes," Richard said, his voice broken with shame. "And when my parents started asking questions, when Sophia started calling, 'You, Mama,' Veronica panicked. She realized she was losing control, so she tried to get rid of Sophia completely." "That's why she put her in the trash," Mary whispered. "Exactly. And when you found her, Veronica realized she needed a scapegoat. Someone to blame if anything happened to Sophia. You." Richard looked directly into her eyes. "I'm sorry. I should have seen the truth sooner. I should have protected you. I should have protected Sophia." Mary swallowed back tears. "What's going to happen to Beatrice now? I'm trying to find her. She disappeared after she gave Sophia away, but I will find her. And when I do, I'll give her the choice to be part of Sophia's life again if she wants to. And if she doesn't?" Mary asked, though her heart already knew the answer. "Then you will be Sophia's mother officially," Richard said. "Legally, permanently." Tears streamed down Mary's face. Sophia looked up, touching Mary's cheeks with her tiny hands. "Mommy sad?" "No, my love," Mary whispered. "Mommy's happy." 2 weeks later, Richard found Beatrice. She was living in a shelter in Queens, working as a waitress, surviving day to day. When Richard brought Sophia to see her, Beatrice broke down. "My baby," she cried, falling to her knees. "My Sophia." But when she tried to hold Sophia, the baby started to cry, reaching for Mary. "Mommy," Sophia cried. "Want Mommy." Beatrice looked at Mary, her eyes full of pain and understanding. "You're her mother, aren't you? She loves you." Mary felt her heart break. "Beatrice, you're her mother. You carried her. You gave birth to her." "But I gave her away," Beatrice whispered. "I let her go, and now she doesn't know me." "You can get to know her again," Mary said gently. "You can be part of her life." Beatrice shook her head, tears falling. "No, I lost my chance, but you didn't. You saved her, you protected her. You are the mother I could never be." She took Mary's hands. "Please take care of her. Promise me you'll love her like she's your own." "I promise," Mary whispered. Beatrice kissed Sophia's forehead one last time. "Be happy, my love. Be happy." And then she was gone. 6 months later, the adoption papers were finalized. Sophia was officially Mary's daughter. Richard made sure Mary had everything she needed: a comfortable home, financial stability, legal support. And every night, Mary would rock Sophia to sleep, singing lullabies, telling stories, whispering promises. "You're safe now, my love. You're home." And as the New York City sky filled with stars, Mary finally understood that sometimes family isn't defined by blood, but by love, by choice, by sacrifice. Sophia wasn't hers by birth, but she was hers by destiny. 5 years had passed since that fateful night when Mary found Sophia among the trash cans. 5 years of transformation, healing, and unconditional love. Sophia was now 6 years old, a vibrant little girl with bouncy dark curls, curious eyes, and a smile that lit up any room. She attended a private school on the Upper West Side, where she was known for her kindness, intelligence, and boundless imagination. Mary had transformed, too. She was no longer the exhausted housekeeper cleaning other people's homes. She was a mother in the fullest sense of the word. She and Sophia lived in a cozy apartment on the Upper West Side, a quiet neighborhood with tree-lined streets and playgrounds where Sophia played every afternoon. Richard had ensured they had financial stability, paying a generous child support for Sophia and helping Mary start a small home-based baking business. Life was finally peaceful. But as Mary would soon discover, the past never truly leaves us. Some wounds just go dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. It was an October morning, the sky a crisp, clear blue over New York City. Mary was in the kitchen making breakfast, while Sophia drew at the living room table. "Mommy," Sophia called out, "can I take this drawing to Grandma Regina?" Regina was Richard's mother, who had become a loving presence in Sophia's life. She visited regularly, took Sophia on outings, attended her school performances. She had become the grandmother Sophia deserved. "Of course, my love," Mary replied. "Grandma will love it." As Mary flipped the pancakes, the doorbell rang. Strange, they weren't expecting visitors. Mary wiped her hands on her apron and went to the door. When she opened it, her heart stopped. Beatrice. The woman before her was different from the frail, broken girl she had seen 5 years ago. Beatrice was well dressed, her hair styled, her makeup flawless. But her eyes carried the same deep pain Mary remembered. "Beatrice," Mary whispered. "Hello, Mary," Beatrice said, her voice trembling slightly. "May I come in?" Mary hesitated. Something inside her screamed danger, but her compassion won out. She opened the door. Beatrice stepped inside, her eyes immediately searching for and finding Sophia. The little girl looked up from her drawing, curious. "Mommy, who is it?" "It's an old friend," Mary said quickly. "Sophia, why don't you keep drawing while we talk in the kitchen?" Sophia nodded and returned to her crayons. Beatrice couldn't take her eyes off her. "She's so big," Beatrice whispered. "So beautiful." Mary led Beatrice to the kitchen, closing the door part way. "What are you doing here?" Mary asked, keeping her voice low. "I needed to see her," Beatrice said. "My daughter. After all these years, I had to." "Beatrice, you made your choice. You decided it was best for her if you weren't part of her life." "I know," Beatrice said, tears welling in her eyes, "and I've lived with that regret every single day since. But I'm different now, Mary. I have a steady job, my own apartment, I've been in therapy. I'm better. I'm ready." Mary felt a chill run down her spine. "Ready for what?" "To be her mother," Beatrice said, her voice firm despite the tears. "I want Sophia back." Mary's world stopped. "You can't be serious. I'm her biological mother. I have rights." "You gave up those rights," Mary said, trying to stay calm. "You signed the papers. Sophia was legally adopted." "I know," Beatrice said, "but I was coerced. Veronica manipulated me. I was vulnerable, scared. A good lawyer could challenge that adoption." Mary felt the floor give way beneath her. "You can't do this to her, to us. Sophia doesn't know you. She's happy here." "Then let me get to know her," Beatrice pleaded. "Let me be part of her life." Slowly, gradually. Mary wanted to refuse. Every fiber of her being screamed to protect Sophia, to keep her distance from this woman who could shatter the life they had so carefully built. But she also saw the sincerity in Beatrice's face, the genuine pain of a mother who had lost her child. "I'll think about it," Mary said finally, "but I will not have you just show up in Sophia's life and confuse her. If we do this, it will be on my terms, at my pace." Beatrice nodded, relieved. "Thank you, Mary. You won't regret this. I promise." After Beatrice left, Mary sat at the kitchen table, her head in her hands. Sophia came in concerned. "Mommy, are you okay?" "I'm fine, my love," Mary said, forcing a smile. "Just a little tired." Sophia climbed into Mary's lap, hugging her tightly. "I love you, Mommy. I love you too, my sweet girl. More than anything in this world." That night, after she put Sophia to bed, Mary called Richard. "She's back," Mary said as soon as he answered. "Beatrice. She wants to get to know Sophia." Richard was silent for a long moment. "What do you want to do?" "I don't know, Mary," I admitted. "Part of me wants to send her away, to protect Sophia from any possible confusion or pain. But another part feels it would be wrong to deny Sophia the right to know her biological mother." Richard sighed. "Mary, legally, you are safe. The adoption papers are solid. But emotionally, morally, this is a decision only you can make." Mary knew he was right, and in her heart of hearts, she already knew what she had to do. In the following weeks, Mary allowed Beatrice to start visiting. At first, just for an hour on the weekends, Mary introduced Beatrice as a family friend, someone who had known Sophia when she was a baby. Sophia was polite but reserved, as she always was with strangers. Beatrice brought gifts, small toys and books, trying to win Sophia's affection. But Sophia was a smart, perceptive child. She sensed the tension in Mary every time Beatrice showed up. One Saturday afternoon, after Beatrice had left, Sophia climbed onto the bed next to Mary. "Mommy? Who is that lady, really?" Mary took a deep breath. She knew this moment would come eventually. "She's someone very special," Mary began carefully. "Someone who loved you even before you were born." Sophia frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" Mary pulled Sophia closer. "When you were born, my love, your family was going through a very difficult time. The woman who gave birth to you, she loved you very much, but she couldn't take care of you the way you deserved." Sophia's eyes widened. "That lady, Beatrice, is she my real mom?" Mary felt tears prick her eyes. "She gave birth to you, yes. But I'm your real mom too, because being a mother isn't just about giving birth. It's about being there every day, taking care of you when you're sick, drying your tears, celebrating your joys. It's about love, not about blood." Sophia processed this silently. "So I have two mums?" "In a way, yes," Mary said. "But I'm your mommy. I always have been and I always will be. Nothing will ever change that." Sophia hugged Mary tightly. "I only need you, Mommy. You're enough for me." Mary held her daughter, letting the tears fall freely. "Thank you, my love. Thank you." But Beatrice's visits became more frequent, and with each visit she grew a little bolder, a little more possessive. One day Mary came home from the grocery store to find Beatrice and Sophia alone in the apartment. Sophia had let Beatrice in, thinking it was okay. "Beatrice, what are you doing here?" Mary demanded, trying to stay calm in front of Sophia. "I was just passing by and thought I'd pop in," Beatrice said casually. "Sophia and I were just having fun, weren't we, sweetie?" Sophia looked uncomfortable. "Yes, but I said Mommy would be back soon." "Mary, can we talk?" Beatrice asked, motioning to the kitchen. "Sophia, can you go play in your room for a moment?" Mary asked. After Sophia left, Mary turned to Beatrice. "You cannot just show up here unannounced. We had an agreement." "I know, but I miss her. I want to spend more time with her." "Beatrice, you need to understand your boundaries." "Boundaries?" Beatrice laughed bitterly. "She is my daughter, Mary. My blood, my flesh. You may have raised her, but she came from me." Mary felt anger boiling inside her. "I saved her. I protected her when you abandoned her." "I didn't abandon her," Beatrice yelled. "I was forced. And now I'm going to right that wrong. I will fight for her if I have to." "You will not take Sophia from me," Mary said, her voice shaking with emotion. "She is my daughter in every way that matters." "We'll see what a court has to say about that," Beatrice retorted. Then she left, slamming the door. Mary stood there, her body trembling. Sophia appeared at her bedroom door. "Mommy, are you okay?" Mary forced a smile. "I am, my love. Come here." Sophia ran into her arms, and Mary held her as if her life depended on it. That night, Mary called Richard again. "She's threatening to go to court. She wants to try to reverse the adoption." "She can't do that," Richard said firmly. "I will hire the best lawyers. I will make sure you and Sophia stay together." But there was something in his voice that sounded less confident than his words. The days turned into weeks of anxiety. Mary could barely sleep, constantly worried that someone would come and take Sophia away. She thought about running, disappearing with Sophia where Beatrice could never find them, but she knew that would only make things worse. Then the letter came. It was an official notice. Beatrice had filed a petition to reverse the adoption, claiming coercion and mental instability at the time she signed the papers. Mary sat at her kitchen table, holding the letter with trembling hands. Everything she had fought for, all the love she had given, the entire life she had built with Sophia, was at risk. She didn't know if justice would be on her side. She didn't know if the system would recognize that she was Sophia's real mother, regardless of biology. All she knew was that she would not give up. Not ever. Because Sophia wasn't just her daughter. Sophia was her heart, her soul, her reason for living. And Mary would fight to her last breath to protect that little girl, even if it meant facing the legal system, facing Beatrice, facing the entire world. The hearing was set for 6 weeks' time, 6 weeks of uncertainty, fear, and preparation. Richard hired Marina Parker, one of New York's most respected family lawyers, known for her ferocity in the courtroom and her compassion for her clients. Marina visited Mary at her apartment. "I need you to be completely honest with me," Marina said, sitting at the kitchen table. "Tell me everything from the beginning." Mary did. Every detail of that night she found Sophia in the trash, Veronica's terror, the sabotage, the months of fear, the love that grew between her and Sophia, the promises they made to each other. Marina listened intently, taking notes. "Your case is strong," she said finally. "You have evidence of Veronica's abuse, of the abandonment, of your constant dedication to Sophia. And most importantly, you have 5 years of history proving you are Sophia's primary parent in every sense." But Mary could feel the but coming. "But family courts sometimes give significant weight to biological ties," Marina admitted, "especially when the biological mother can prove the original decision was made under duress." "So I could lose her," Mary whispered. "Not if I can help it," Marina said firmly. "We're going to fight with everything we have." In the following weeks, life became an emotional roller coaster. Mary had to explain to Sophia in age-appropriate terms that there was a court hearing. "My love, remember how we talked about Beatrice being the person who gave birth to you?" Sophia nodded, her eyes big and worried. "Well, she's asking the court to let her spend more time with you, maybe even live with her." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "But I don't want to live with her. I want to stay with you. I know, sweetie, and we're going to tell the judge that. But you need to be brave, okay? I will be with you the whole time." Sophia threw herself into Mary's arms. "I'm scared, Mommy. Me too, my love, me too. But we'll get through this together." The news spread quickly. Regina, Richard's mother, was outraged. How dare she? She abandoned that child. "You saved Sophia, Mary." Constance, now working another job but still keeping in touch, called to offer to testify. "I saw everything, Mary. I will tell the court exactly what kind of person Veronica was and how Beatrice just handed Sophia over without a fight." The support warmed Mary's heart, but it didn't quell the fear. She knew that in the end, it would all come down to the judge and how he interpreted the law. 3 days before the hearing, Sophia asked a question that broke Mary's heart. "Mommy, if the judge says I have to live with Beatrice, will you still be my mom?" "Always," Mary said. Her voice choked. "No matter what happens, no matter where you are, I will always be your mother, and you will always be my daughter. Promise you won't forget me." "How could I ever forget you?" Mary said, tears streaming down her face. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You are my miracle." They held each other, both crying, both afraid of the uncertain future. The night before the hearing, Mary couldn't sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, praying for strength, for justice, for a miracle. At 3 in the morning, she got up and went to Sophia's room. The little girl was sleeping peacefully, her favorite blanket pulled up to her chin, her hair fanned out on the pillow. Mary sat on the edge of the bed, just watching her daughter sleep. She remembered all the nights she had stayed up with Sophia as a baby, all the fevers she had nursed, all the tears she had dried. She remembered Sophia's first smile, her first steps, her first word, "Mama." She remembered every precious moment they had shared. "I'm not giving up on you," Mary whispered. "Never." Sophia stirred in her sleep, murmuring, "Mommy." Even in her sleep, she reached for Mary. That strengthened Mary's resolve. Tomorrow she would walk into that courtroom and she would fight. She would fight with every ounce of strength she possessed, because Sophia was her daughter, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was going to change that. The morning of the hearing dawned grey over New York City. Dark clouds blanketed the sky, threatening rain, as if the weather itself reflected the tension Mary felt in every fibre of her being. She woke at 5 a.m., though she had barely slept. Her eyes were puffy from crying silently through the night, but she splashed her face with cold water, trying to look strong. For Sophia. Always for Sophia. She dressed carefully in a simple but elegant outfit Regina had insisted on buying for her. A white blouse, black slacks, sensible shoes. Nothing flashy, nothing that could give the judge the wrong impression. She needed to look responsible, reliable, motherly. Everything she actually was, but now she had to prove it to strangers who would decide her family's fate. When Sophia woke, Mary had already made her favorite breakfast, pancakes with honey and strawberries, but the little girl barely touched her food. Her small face was pale, her eyes wide with worry. "Mommy, my tummy hurts," Sophia whispered. "It's just nerves, my love," Mary said, stroking her hair. "Mine is too, but it will pass. We're going to be okay." "Are we really?" Sophia asked, her voice small and scared. "We are," Mary promised, though she wasn't sure if she could keep that promise. Richard arrived at 8 to drive them to the courthouse. Regina was with him, her usually gentle face now hardened with determination. "That woman is not going to take our granddaughter from us," she declared. "Not after everything you've done for Sophia." Mary was silently, grateful to have Regina on her side. The woman had become more than just her former employer's mother. She had become a friend, an ally, a true grandmother to Sophia. The drive to the courthouse was silent. Sophia sat in the back, holding Mary's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Richard drove with a tense expression, checking the rearview mirror constantly. When they arrived at the imposing courthouse building, Mary felt her legs weaken. This was the place where her fate would be decided, where a stranger in a black robe would determine if she could continue to be Sophia's mother, or if she would have to hand her daughter over to a woman who had abandoned her years ago. Marina Parker, the lawyer, was waiting at the entrance. She looked confident, professional, but Mary could see the worry hidden in her eyes. "I'm ready," Marina said. "We have a strong case. We just have to trust the system. Trust the system." The words sounded hollow to Mary. How could she trust a system that didn't know Sophia, that didn't know how Mary had rocked this child to sleep every night, that didn't understand that true love had nothing to do with blood? But she nodded because she had no other choice. They entered the courtroom. The room was cold, formal, intimidating. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, rows of wooden benches. In the center, 2 tables, one for Mary and her lawyer, another for Beatrice and her lawyer. Beatrice was already there. She looked nervous but determined, dressed conservatively, her hair pulled back, light makeup. Beside her was a man in an expensive suit, probably in his late 30s, with a leather briefcase and an expression that said he was used to winning. Beatrice's eyes met Mary's. For a moment, there was something there. Guilt, regret. But then she looked away, focusing on Sophia. The little girl instinctively hid behind Mary, clutching her blouse. "I don't want to go with her," Sophia whispered. "I won't let you," Mary promised, though she didn't know if she could keep it. "All rise," the bailiff called, and the judge entered. Judge Helena Moreira, a woman in her 50s, grey hair in a severe bun, her face unreadable. She sat behind the large wooden bench and adjusted her glasses. "Case number 7834, she announced. "Beatrice Santos versus Mary Smith, regarding the custody of the minor Sophia Smith. Let's begin." Beatrice's lawyer stood first. "Your Honor, this is a simple case of a mother trying to reclaim her child. My client, Beatrice Santos, gave birth to Sophia 6 years ago. Due to extremely difficult circumstances, including family coercion and financial instability, she was forced to give up her daughter." Mary felt anger boil. Forced? Beatrice had made a choice. She could have fought. She could have sought help. Instead, she handed Sophia over and disappeared. But she kept her face neutral, listening. "My client has spent the last 5 years rebuilding herself," the lawyer continued. "She now has stable employment, suitable housing, and has completed extensive therapy. She is ready to assume her responsibilities as Sophia's mother. Most importantly, she never legally relinquished her parental rights. The purported adoption was processed under false pretenses." Marina stood up. "Objection, Your Honor. The adoption papers were processed correctly and legally. Ms. Santos signed voluntarily after proper advisement." "Did she have legal representation at the time?" Beatrice's lawyer asked. The room fell silent. Mary knew the answer. Beatrice hadn't had a lawyer. Veronica had arranged for a lawyer to process the papers, but not to represent Beatrice. "That is precisely what constitutes coercion," the lawyer said triumphantly. "A young mother, alone, scared, without resources, pressured into signing documents she barely understood." The judge made a note. "Ms. Parker, would you like to respond?" Marina stood. "Your Honor, while it is true Ms. Santos did not have separate representation, she was not legally required to. The papers clearly explained her rights and the consequences of signing them. Furthermore, she had multiple opportunities to reconsider, including a 30-day waiting period during which she could have withdrawn her consent. She did not. Because she was in shock." Beatrice's lawyer cut in. "Because she was traumatized." "Order," the judge said firmly. "Let's hear from the parties directly. Ms. Santos, Beatrice Santos, please approach the stand." Beatrice stood, her hands trembling slightly. She walked to the front and stood before the judge. Judge Moreira looked at her over her glasses. "Why do you want your daughter back now after 5 years?" "Because I never should have given her up," Beatrice said, her voice breaking. "Every night for the last 5 years I have thought about her. I've wondered if she was okay, if she was happy, if she missed me. I loved her from the moment I found out I was pregnant, but I was young, scared, with no family to support me. My sister Veronica promised me Sophia would have a better life, that she would be loved and cared for. So I trusted her. And when you found out about the abuse, the judge asked. Beatrice lowered her head. I was devastated, guilty. I felt like I had failed my daughter. But I also realized I couldn't just show up and disrupt the life Mary had built with her. So I stayed away. I worked on myself. I became the mother Sophia deserved. And now I'm ready. Please just give me a chance. There were tears in Beatrice's eyes, and Mary could see they were genuine. Part of her even felt sympathy. But most of her was terrified, because Beatrice's words were compelling, emotional, the kind of thing that could sway a judge. Ms. Smith, Mary Smith, your turn, the judge said. Mary stood, her legs shaking. She walked to the stand, feeling all eyes on her. Tell me, Ms. Smith, why do you believe you should retain custody of Sophia? Because I am her mother, Mary said simply. Not because I gave birth to her, but because I have been there for every single important moment of her life. I found her when she had been abandoned, left to die in the trash as if she were worthless. I fed her, I protected her, I loved her when no one else would. I stayed up with her all night when she was sick. I taught her to walk, to talk, to read. I have dried her tears, healed her scrapes, celebrated her victories. Mary's voice breaking, she continued. I don't have her blood running through my veins, but she has my heart beating in her chest. She calls me Mommy. She runs to me when she's scared. She looks for me when she wakes up, not because she's obligated to, but because it's what she feels. And I believe that counts for more than any DNA test ever could. The room was silent. Even Beatrice's lawyer looked moved. The judge made more notes. And what if we were to allow Sophia to maintain contact with her biological mother? A shared custody arrangement, perhaps? Mary hesitated. Part of her wanted to scream, no, never, keep her away from my child. But she knew that would make her look selfish, possessive. So she took a deep breath and said, if it is what is best for Sophia, then I would consider it. But on one condition. That Sophia has a voice in this. That she is allowed to express her feelings, her fears, her wishes, because at the end of the day this isn't about what I want or what Beatrice wants. It's about what is best for Sophia. Wise words, the judge said. Then I think we should hear from Sophia herself. Sophia, sweetie, can you come up here? Sophia looked at Mary with wide, panicked eyes. Mary nodded encouragingly. It's okay, my love. Just tell the truth. Sophia walked slowly to the front, looking even smaller against the grandeur of the courtroom. The judge smiled gently, her stern expression softening for the first time. Hello, Sophia. My name is Helena. You don't have to be scared of me, okay? I'm here to help you. Sophia nodded shyly. Sophia, do you know who Beatrice is? The judge asked. Sophia looked at Beatrice, then back at the judge. She's the lady who visits me sometimes, the one who says she's my real mum. And how do you feel about that? Sophia shrugged. I don't know. She's nice, I guess. But she's not my mommy. The judge leaned forward. Who is your mommy, Sophia? Without hesitation, Sophia pointed to Mary. She is. She always has been. For as long as I can remember. And would you like to live with Beatrice? Sophia's eyes filled with tears. No. I want to stay with my mommy. With Mary. Please don't make me go away from her. Sophia's voice broke into sobs. Please. Mary wanted to run to her, to scoop Sophia into her arms and never let go. But she forced herself to stay still, trusting that the judge would see the truth. The judge handed Sophia a tissue. It's okay, sweetie. No one is going to force you to do anything. You can go back and sit down now. Sophia ran back to Mary, throwing herself into her arms. Mary held her tightly, whispering words of comfort. The judge looked at Beatrice. Her face was pale, tears streaming down it silently. I understand this is an extraordinarily difficult situation for both parties, Judge Moreira said. Beatrice Santos, you clearly love your daughter. But love, while important, is not enough. What matters is the best interest of the child. And in this case, Sophia's best interest is clear. She has formed a primary bond with Mary Smith. To separate a 6-year-old child from her primary maternal figure would cause significant psychological trauma. Beatrice sobbed openly. Furthermore, the judge continued, while I acknowledge that the original circumstances surrounding the adoption were less than ideal, I see no evidence of fraud or illegal coercion. You had opportunities to reconsider your decision and chose not to. Therefore, my ruling is as follows. Primary. Custody of Sophia Smith will remain with Mary Smith. However, acknowledging the biological rights and genuine desire of Beatrice Santos to be in her daughter's life, I grant supervised visitation once a month to be re-evaluated in 6 months based on Sophia's emotional well-being. The gavel fell. The decision was made. Mary felt as if she had been hit by a wave of relief so powerful it almost knocked her over. Sophia was still hers. Her daughter was still her daughter. Marina smiled, squeezing Mary's shoulder. We won. Beatrice was being comforted by her lawyer, her body shaking with sobs. Mary felt a pang of sympathy. Yes, she had won. But Beatrice had lost her daughter twice. That wasn't something to celebrate completely. Mary stood up and walked over to Beatrice, Sophia clinging to her hip. Beatrice looked up, her eyes red and swollen. Beatrice, Mary said softly, I'm sorry. I know this is hard. You don't have to be sorry, Beatrice said in a hoarse voice. You won. You deserved it. It's not about winning or losing, Mary said. It's about Sophia, and if you truly love her, then I won't stop her from knowing you. We can make this work. Slowly, carefully, but we can try. Beatrice looked at Sophia. Would you like that, Sophia? Do you still want me to visit? Sophia hesitated, then nodded slowly. I guess so. But I live with Mommy. I understand, Beatrice whispered. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you for giving me a chance. They walked out of the courthouse into a sky that had cleared. The sun was shining through the clouds, casting golden rays over the city. It felt symbolic somehow. The storm had passed, and they had survived. Richard hugged Mary. I'm so proud of you. Regina scooped Sophia into her arms, spinning her around. My little granddaughter. We love you so much. In the weeks that followed, life began to settle back to normal. Sophia went back to school, back to playing with friends, back to being a carefree child. Beatrice's visits began as court-ordered. Once a month she would come, always supervised by Mary, and spend a few hours with Sophia. They were awkward visits at first, full of strange silences and forced attempts at conversation, but gradually they got easier. Sophia started to open up more, sharing stories from school, showing off her drawings. Beatrice listened intently, asking questions, laughing at the right moments, clearly trying to build a connection without pushing. Mary watched these interactions with mixed feelings. Part of her was still scared, still protective, still wanting to keep Beatrice at arm's length. But another part recognized that Sophia was growing up, and at some point would have questions about her origins, about her biological mother, and it would be better to have those answers from Beatrice than to let Sophia wonder and imagine. One afternoon, 6 months after the trial, Beatrice brought a photo album. These are pictures of me when I was pregnant. With you, she explained to Sophia. And some of your biological family. Your grandmother, your grandfather, your uncles. Sophia looked through the pictures with fascination. I look like you, she said, pointing to a photo of Beatrice at the same age. A little, Beatrice said with a sad smile. But you have your own eyes, your own smile. You're one of a kind. After Beatrice left that day, Sophia turned to Mary. Mommy, can I love both of you? You and Beatrice. Mary's heart clenched, but she smiled. Of course you can, my love. The human heart has an infinite capacity to love. Loving Beatrice doesn't mean you love me any less, and I love you enough for both of us. Sophia hugged Mary tight. You're the best mommy in the whole wide world." That night, after she put Sophia to bed, Mary sat on the balcony of her apartment, looking out at the city lights twinkling below. She thought about everything that had happened, the journey of terror and love, fear and courage, loss and gain. She thought about how one night, 5 years ago, had changed her life forever. How finding an abandoned baby in the trash had led her to discover a love she didn't know she was still capable of feeling. She thought of Veronica, now serving her sentence, and how evil sometimes comes disguised in beauty and privilege. She thought of Beatrice, a young mother who made a mistake but was trying to atone for it. And she thought of Sophia, her daughter in every way that mattered, now sleeping safely in her room. Mary didn't have wealth. She didn't have a mansion or fancy cars. But she had something far more valuable. She had love, she had family, she had purpose, and she had Sophia. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Beatrice. "Thank you for today. Thank you for letting me be part of Sophia's life." "You are a better mother than I could ever be," Mary typed back. "You're her mother too, in a different way, but still. We'll do this together." For the next few weeks, life continued its steady rhythm. Work, school, play dates, family meals, and once a month, Beatrice's visits, which gradually became less supervised, more relaxed, more natural. One day, Sophia came home from school with a family tree project. "Mommy, can I put you and Beatrice here?" she asked, pointing to the space-marked mother. Mary looked at the project. Traditionally, only one mother would go there, but Sophia's life wasn't traditional. "Of course, my love," Mary said. "Put us both. Because family isn't just about blood. It's about who is there for you, who loves you, who supports you." Sophia beamed and carefully wrote both their names. When she was finished, she held up the paper. "Look, Mommy, my family. It's perfect." "It's not perfect," Mary thought, "but it's ours. And that's more than enough." Years later, when Sophia was a teenager, she would write an essay for school about her family. She would write about being found in the trash, about being rescued, about growing up knowing she was chosen, not just born into a family. She would write about having two mothers, one who gave her life and one who raised her, and how they both loved her in different but important ways. She would write about Mary, the woman who held her when she was scared, who taught her to be strong, who sacrificed everything for her. And she would end the essay with a simple sentence: "Family is not defined by genetics. It is defined by love, and I am the luckiest person in the world because I have so much of it." But for now, on that quiet evening in her apartment on the Upper West Side, Mary simply held Sophia as they watched cartoons together on the couch. Sophia laughing at the show, Mary smiling as she watched her. These were the moments that made it all worthwhile, not the big victories or the dramatic courtroom showdowns, but these small, precious moments of peace and joy, of just being together, of being a mother and a daughter. And as night fell over New York City, Mary whispered a prayer of gratitude. For second chances, for love that overcomes blood, for finding her daughter when she most needed to be found, and for all the people who had helped her along the way. Regina and Richard, Marina and Constance, and yes, even Beatrice, who was learning that to love someone sometimes means letting them go so they can fly. "Mommy," Sophia said, breaking Mary's thoughts. "Yes, my love. I love you to the moon and back." Mary kissed the top of Sophia's head. "I love you to the stars and beyond them, my sweet girl, always and forever." And in that moment, everything was right in their world. Not perfect, but right, because they had each other, and that was all that truly mattered. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Mary and Sophia has deeply touched your heart. If you were moved by this journey of unconditional love, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments which moment marked you the most. Every day we bring intense and true stories like this one, which reveal the deepest side of the human soul and the transformative power of love. Because in the end, family isn't just about who gave birth to you, but about who chose to stay and never abandon you. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode with another story that will stir your emotions. See you soon.